Farm to Fork champions sustainability, animal welfare and forging a connection between producer and consumer. The movement is at the core of how things are done at Ellis Creek Farm, near the Abel Tasman National Park in Golden Bay. The farm's business model is focused on growing, processing and selling Angus beef, lamb and farm produce direct to the public. The historic farm that once was home to the South Island's first winery is run by Rose and Andy Williams. Rose's brother, Jonathan Thorpe, is part of the farming team and he's out on the property with Cosmo Kentish Barnes.
My grandparents bought the farm in 1939 and my father took over the farm in the early 1960s. And so my grandfather farmed 30 dairy cows and then my father went more into sheep farming. So we've always had a bit of a mix. And then when Rose and Andy took over, they wanted to go more with the lowline Angus, and as a family we decided to establish the Ellis Creek Farm brand as a way of seeking to maintain the farm and keep it in the family. And as you can see, there's a lot of bush and steep rock faces and scrub covered hills, so yeah, it's hard work.
We are standing on a gravel road now, which goes up the hill into the bush, and looking down the other way, we can see the estuary and a bit of the sea.
Yeah, there's the Motupipi estuary, and the Golden Bay stretches out in front of us. Yeah, we often sit up here and watch the westerly blowing across the other side of the bay, and if you look at the rainfall statistics, you know, Bainham on the other side probably has 2 or 3 times what we have. So we're in the centre of the farm looking in at the finishing cattle, and these would be 18 months to 2 years. So they're a lowline Angus, particularly bred for their short, stocky nature. They've got a high beef to bone ratio, I suppose you'd call it. And with the hilly country here, we felt that a breed like this would be more robust on the hills.
Yes. And so these cattle are killed on farm, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah, we've got our own abattoir. That was a process that took quite a while to get over the line and get built. And for Rose and Andy, it's been a big motivation to be able to see the animals not have to go onto a truck. We care for them, and to put them on a truck and have the stress of travelling hours to get to an abattoir, we really didn't want to continue on in that way.
There's lots of tucker there in the paddock for them to munch on.
Yes, and we're still topping them up with baleage as part of that finishing off process.
Yes, and surrounding the paddock that these lowlines are in is lots of dense native bush.
Yeah, I came back to the farm about 5 years ago to help establish and support Mum and Dad who are here, and I'm still finding corners of the farm that I've never been to before as I get in there to fix a fence or sort out a water supply.
Now, Rose has just turned up. We were going to walk down and meet you at the cow sheds, but we got stuck yarning here beside the lowlines.
Yes.
How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
What's happening on the farm at the moment?
The grass is growing and we're raising calves, both on their mothers and also from the dairy farm that have been brought over here, and we're putting them on our milking cows. We have 9 milking cows.
So do you milk some of those cows?
We milk 1 cow to feed all of us, and the other cows, we put the calves on them twice a day, and the calves just help themselves.
And so how many people are living, on the farm at the moment?
Jonathan, you did a count up.
Yeah, we had, I think it was around 18.
Yeah. Some of them are just coming and going. Yeah. We have about 8 family at the moment. Most of our children have moved on, but yeah.
And how much land does this farm cover?
It's just under 500 acres, 200 hectares.
And only about half of it is in grazable land, perhaps less.
We've got 2 or 3 lease blocks, which is flatter land, which is better for finishing the cattle.
But they're just small properties, mostly retired people own around our farm. Yeah.
And as well as being a farmer, Rose, you've been doing a bit of relief teaching this morning.
I have. I'm not doing very much at the moment because I'm far too busy, but it's always nice to get out there and see the children.
Yes. Good to do something different.
It is nice to do something different every now and then.
Well, should we wander down the hill and have a look at your calves?
Yeah.
We've just passed a tiny house. Who lives there?
That's my house truck, and we've got a young family staying there short term. They're helping out a little bit with some of the pasture care. So Rose would be able to share a bit more about that perhaps.
Tell me more,
Well,
Rose.
we're really keen to work on, as much as we can, restoring the microbiology of the soil. And one of the techniques for doing that, other than buying stuff in, is to build your own indigenous microorganisms from your environment and build up your supply of those. And one way of doing that is the Korean natural farming way. And it's something that I'm really interested in, but Elliot is also very interested in it. And he was needing somewhere to stay, and he was wanting to develop and experiment with his skills. So he's staying here for a few months, and he's going to have a go at working with us on restoring some of our poorer paddocks.
So this is called Korean natural farming.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
Well, have you heard of bokashi?
Yes.
Bokashi comes from similar roots, but it's a version of compost teas, really. But instead of building your compost pile and hoping that all the good fungi and bacteria just move in, you go out into your environment and you find a wild place where the soil is very rich with fungi and microorganisms, and then you collect them and you increase the volume of them, and then you take that back out into your garden or onto your paddocks. So it's actually mostly used in small scale gardens, and there's not many farmers using it on the large scale.
But there's no reason why you can't upscale, I guess.
No, well, I was inspired by a farmer called Tom Stack who lives in Ireland, and he's taken it up and he's doing it on his dairy farm, and he's really sold on it. So a lot of the restoration happens in the way that you would be grazing.
Yep.
If you're not grazing really short and you're not blasting it with chemicals, then you're more likely to have a healthy soil microbe.
Now I see an old International tractor has been parked up on the side of the track. I guess that would have been your dad's.
Yes, that one's done a few miles, lifted a few trees and various things.
They work hard, tractors, don't they?
They do, and it doesn't seem to get much love parked out there. It still goes. We've got a problem with the hydraulics at the moment, so it's just waiting for some inspiration.
So this is the site of an old lime kiln that used to be here on the farm back in Alice's day or before that. If you have a look inside the shed, you can still see the chimney.
This is an old wooden shed with a rusty tin roof. It's built into the cliff.
Yeah. So if you look up there, you'll see where the fire goes.
Yes.
And right up on the limestone hill behind there, they would take the rocks and crush them and burn them to make lime.
That could then be used on roads, helping to make the road harder, possibly also used as a fertiliser, but I know it was used on roads.
Now we've come into a paddock where you've got several relaxed looking calves.
Yes, these are my foster calves. There's about 8 of these big ones. They were born from our Jersey cows, and this is the bull over here. He's the lowline Angus. He's supposed to be the father of all of these because we sent him to a local dairy farm last year to put over the cows after they'd had the AI. And then this spring he picked out the ones that looked like they were Lowline Angus Jersey cross, and we got them back, and we just raised them on our herd of 8 dairy cows. So the dairy cows come into the cow shed every morning, and I let the calves in and they just go for it. And it's all very peaceful, mostly.
Beyond the bull is another paddock, and then basically we can see the ocean.
Yes.
This cattle shed here must have one of the best views in Golden Bay.
Yeah, I would agree. Haven't seen anywhere better.
The cow shed is the main hub of the farm. If you want to know anything, you turn up at the cow shed. Yes. And Mum will be there. She invariably turns up in the morning sometime to make sure we're doing everything properly. And then various other people will come and go. And it's the place to find out what's happening.
Yes. And so how old are your folks?
Dad is 82.
92.
And Mum is 87. Is that right, Jonathan? Yeah. Got that right?
Gosh, and she still comes up in the morning just to make sure you're doing everything right.
Well, she has her own little flock of chooks that she looks after, and she gives me all the advice for raising calves, because she raised calves for 20 years.
Now I can see a huge compost heap on the other side of the paddock. What are you making that with?
Yeah, well, you'll see there's 3 piles there. On the very left, there's a pile of chip mulch, which I created a few days ago. Around the farm, we've got plenty of trees that we don't need or want. It's a matter of choosing the ones that we don't want. They're growing in the wrong place or they're the wrong kind, and pushing it through my chipper. And so I can feed anything up to 120 millimetre diameter into that. So that's combined with any of the animal waste that we have. Sometimes you'll get one of our older animals that will die of old age, or the waste that comes as part of our abattoir process. So we create a bed of the chip to put that animal waste on, and then we cover it up, and we just leave that for a year before it's ready to use somewhere. So I've got a small block of avocado trees which we're currently applying the finished compost, and the only thing that they enjoy more is chicken manure.
Rose, where are your chickens?
So the chickens, there's a chicken house on the other side, and there's one further up behind the house, and they're on the edge of the bush and the edge of the paddocks. So I've discovered that the chooks really prefer to be under trees. They like to go out in the pasture, but they're happy under the trees. So that's why I've ended up parking my chook homes in those positions. And there's a lot of other spots around the farm where I'd like to increase the number of chook houses that I have. And
are the eggs sold under your Ellis Creek Farm brand?
Yes, yeah. So we sell them on our website and at the market.
At the market in Takaka?
In Takaka and in Nelson.
What's that sound we can hear?
That's our hydro scheme. So we've got a Pelton wheel which is generating electricity for the farm. So we're completely off-grid.
And this runs off Ellis Creek?
Yes. The intake is about 400 or 500 metres up the valley. So we have a head of about 70 metres feeding down here to the Pelton wheel.
Now we've come down to the farmyard, and this is where you've got the abattoir, Rose.
Yes.
Has this been a game changer for your business?
Yes. When we started, there was only one small abattoir that was happy to take our animals and give us the meat back. Most places will buy the animal and that's it.
And that's...
You can't get the meat back. But there were constraints on that because there was only one day that was suitable for them to kill on, and it was often at the beginning of a week, and we had to tie it in with transport so that the animals arrived at the right time, and we were only sending 4 or so at a time, and you can't fill a truck with 4 animals, so we had to fit in with another truck that was going down with animals from Golden Bay.
Sounds very complicated.
It was very complicated, and it fell through.
And behind the abattoir is the chiller.
Yep, we only just recently built the chiller on the farm to be able to have the meat on our farm. So now we're able to sell from the farm.
Oh, so you'd like to have a farm shop.
Yes, yeah.
When would you like to kickstart that idea off?
Well, we already have the ability for people to buy online and then they come to the farm to pick it up. We will probably do it when it becomes a little bit more busy because it will need somebody to man the stall. Yeah.
I think people would love that, to come to where the meat is from.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that we can offer people is the knowledge of where the meat they're coming from and how it's been farmed.
Well, let's go and look in the chiller to see what's hanging.
See what's hanging. So after it's killed, it comes into here where it's chilled, and then it goes to Georgie's.
And Georgie is the local butcher just down the road?
Yes, yep. Her parents own one of the farms along the reef, the second one along from us, sheep farmers. And so she's a home kill butcher and she's a dual butcher.
Georgie Morletta has converted a farm building on her parents' farm into a commercial butchery. She tells me how and why she took this career path.
So I was a Gateway student, and I actually did Gateway with Wayne and Aki Packard and on the farm down the road because I wanted to be a farmer. And I used to go hunting with Dad, and he was like, "Oh, why don't you try and see if you can learn some butchery?" And I started Gateway at the Fresh Choice down here, yeah. And I was real keen to do the apprenticeship because you learn on the job. And
Yes, and you get paid, I guess, as well.
Yeah, that's right, yeah, it's cool. And then I found a French butcher in Nelson that wanted an apprentice, so I went over there for my apprenticeship, yeah, and that was really probably where I got quite passionate about the retail side of it.
Yes.
Then I learnt the home kill side of it from our family friend Slater, yeah.
Gosh, so you've done the whole butchery apprenticeship thing, and now you can do home kill as well?
Yeah, yep. I really like the paddock to plate style stuff, so that's why I like to do the whole lot, you know, like I like to be able to go out and kill for customers and then cut it all up exactly how they want it and produce small goods. Yeah.
And you're a bit tired because you were working last night.
Yeah, at the local Fonterra dairy factory, yep.
Do you work there, part-time?
It's not part-time, it's actually full-time, but we do shift work, so I do 2 days, 2 nights, 4 off mostly, so, you know, in that 4 days off, it gives me enough time to do the butchery.
And you've also got an apprentice called Maddie, is that right?
Yeah, yep.
How did that come about?
Oh, so she did a similar line to get to her apprenticeship as me, so I worked with her dad at the factory, and that's how I met her, and she started doing Gateway and work experience with me, and then later she's in her second year of her apprenticeship now, yeah.
Can we have a quick look on?
Yeah, let's have a look. Jonathan shows me some meaty carcasses waiting to be processed by Georgie.
So there's 4 hoggets there and 1 cattle beast. And the carcasses for the beef are all hung for 10 days.
Why do you do that?
Just to age them. You get a better flavour.
And how often do you ship your orders off around the South Island?
Every week. So Georgie will process the animals at a certain time in the week, and then we will put the meat up on the website when we know what sizes we've got, and then I'll send out an email so our customers who are regular will know that the meat's up there, and then they very quickly get in there to try and get all the bits that they love the best. And the orders come through on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and I usually pack Tuesday afternoon, and then we deliver on a Wednesday.
We are on the other side of Ellis Creek and walking up a stony track towards a secluded paddock, and it looks like your chickens here have the run of the land.
They do. They can go where they wish. This is the Tocha flock. So he's looking behind, there's the grove of tochas that were planted by my grandfather. I think they were planted for fence posts. They make good fence posts, but at the moment they're just providing a haven for the chooks.
Yeah, they can scratch away.
They love it.
Now, that noise we can hear are 2 Pitt Island sheep.
Yes, they're twins. They got disturbed when they were just born. The mother got disturbed and she decided that she couldn't keep them, so we've been raising them here in our little orchard.
And all in all, Rose, how are things going? Are you doing okay financially?
We're on a journey, really, and we've come a long way, and there's still a long way that we want to go. So I think my long-term goal is to have a business structure working on the farm that has the ability to have more ventures built on top of it. So to have a brand that sells our meat and sells our eggs and has the ability for other people in the next generation who want to come along and live on the farm to be able to say, all right, well, I'd actually like to use perhaps the skins from the animals and get into leather, or I would like to use the fat and make skin creams, or I'd like to bring in some bees and make honey. You know, if we can build a foundation that is successful, then there's more ability for other people to come in and be a part of the community.
And we'd like to see a few more little accommodation places dotted in some of the beautiful spots that have beautiful views.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, this is literally a priceless view from where we're standing that the chickens have. What's that bit of land in the distance there beyond the bay?
Oh, that's Farewell Spit, and you'll be able to see the lighthouse at night time if you happen to be here collecting eggs at night time, or shutting the chooks up, or taking broody chooks off the nest, and all the other things you need to do at night.
Rose Williams ending that story from Ellis Creek Farm in Golden Bay. Cosmo was also talking to Rose's brother, Jonathan Thorpe, and butcher Georgie Milletta. There are photos of the farm on the RNZ website. Go to rnz.co.nz/countrylife.